Earlier this week at SEC Media Days, Kirby Smart talked about incoming freshman KJ Bolden and the opportunity he has to see the field early as a freshman this year. And it got me thinking, KJ Bolden may be one of the biggest flips that Kirby Smart has made since being the head coach at Georgia. And there's been a lot of flips, right? Everyone knows Kirby Smart is an ace recruiter. He's one of the best recruiters you'll find across college football. The guy knows what he's doing. So I gathered a list, right? We're going to crunch the numbers. We're going to go over the list of names of players that have made a massive impact on the Georgia football team and have helped them. In some cases, a lot of these players I'm going to talk about have helped them win 2 consecutive national championships in 21 and 22. And these are all flips, right? And some of them weren't immediate flips. But when I say a flip, I'm talking about a prospect that was committed to another school who ended up signing with Georgia. So there's a lot of players we're going to talk about. And I want to start early on, all right? And I'm going to start in the 2017 class. And I guess we'll start with Jake Fromm, right? He was once committed to Alabama, flipped to Georgia, signed with Georgia when Kirby Smart became the head coach. And listen, no one's talking about Jake Fromm as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play at Georgia. But, I mean, the guy did have plenty of important games, right? He had his moments. 3-0 against Florida, SEC champion. His performance in the Rose Bowl as a freshman, I thought, was phenomenal. Now, it kind of seemed like he played worse in 2018 and then worse in 2019, but that was a big flip. And without Jake Fromm, I mean, where does Georgia go at quarterback when Jacob Eason went down, right? So say what you want about Jake Fromm. His career didn't end the way I think he wanted to or other people wanted to or expected. But that was a key flip and a guy that started 3 years at quarterback at the University of Georgia. In that same class, remember Monty Rice, right? He became a starter at Georgia, went on to be drafted by the Tennessee Titans. He is a guy that I think people forget about, but he was very productive and was a key member of those defenses when he was there. He was committed to LSU before flipping and signing with Georgia in that class. Let's go to 2018, right? The big one is Quay Walker. Now, before he flipped that Tennessee hat across the Crisp County auditorium, right? And we were there for that. Dylan Weber was there. I was down in Lee County covering Otis Reese. Made it right after Quay Walker flipped the Tennessee hat. But he was committed to Alabama before all of that and would eventually open up his recruitment and then sign with Georgia. Big deal. He was a key member of Georgia's defense in that 21 national championship team. First round pick, has had a very productive career so far for the Packers. Without a doubt, I think one of the biggest flips that Kirby Smart has made over the last several years. Now, there's another guy in that 2018 class I think people have either forgot about or didn't realize was a flip, and he is also one of the biggest, most impactful players in the Kirby Smart era. I'm going to talk about him in just a second, but first, got to plug collegebronze.com real quick. This is where you can get the #1 Bulldog statue on the market. You're not going to find anything like this guy, I'm telling you right now, and you can get a discount today. Promo code DAWGPOST, DAWGPOST. Don't miss out on the discount. This is the only place where you can get a discount on the best looking Bulldog statue on the market. Get it today in the description below in this video. That's where you can order. It's right down below. Get it today so you have it for the football season. They are going to start selling like crazy right before the season. So if you get it now, you'll get it a lot sooner than everyone else. Okay, promo code DAWGPOST, DAWGPOST. The link is in the description below. The guy I'm talking about is James Cook. Early commitment to Florida State. Of course, his brother, maybe the best running back in Florida State history as far as production goes. But James Cook was committed to Florida State, would end up flipping to Georgia. And of course, he had a very good career. One of the best runs in Georgia football history in that national championship game against Alabama after the Jalen Carter block kick. James Cook took it, 50, 60 yards, put Georgia in a position to really climb back in. I think they scored a touchdown on that drive. But James Cook, big deal, massive flip. 2019, got to be George Pickens, right? Got to be George Pickens. The flip, the signing day flip from Auburn, stabbed the Tigers right in the back, flipped to Georgia. And he was obviously one of the more talented Georgia receivers to ever play, for the Dogs, right? No doubt about it. Big play machine. Was hurt, unfortunately, throughout that 21 season, but he did find a way to make a massive catch in that national championship game against Alabama. But one of the biggest known flips in the Kirby Smart era, got to be up there as one of the best, especially flipping him from a rival like Auburn. They did not get Jaden Hazelwood, who I believe was still ranked ahead of George Pickens, but George Pickens was better. Georgia got the better end of that deal, although Jaden Hazelwood went to Oklahoma, not Auburn. I think you know what I'm talking about, though. 2020, three names I want to talk about. First, Carson Beck, right? Committed to Alabama, opened things up. Florida wanted him badly. He said, no, I'm going to play for a winning program. I want to go to the University of Georgia. And we'll see. He could lead Georgia to a national championship this year. Was the starter last year, had one of the best seasons any quarterback has ever had at Georgia, and could be even better this year. So Carson Beck, absolutely massive, massive flip. Jermaine Burton. Listen, say what you want about Jermaine Burton, excuse me. Although most of you watching this can't stand the guy now, but he did make a big impact in Georgia's national championship season in 2021. He had a lot of big moments, a lot of big catches. Was committed to Miami first, tagged me in that commitment tweet, by the way. Then I think opened it up, committed to LSU, opened it up, committed to Georgia. So he bounced around high schools and college commitments, and now bouncing around and college football. Now he's with the Bengals, and I hope the best for him. I know most of y'all don't, but that was a big flip, getting him on board. And then Warren Brinson, who could have a pretty big year this year. Still on the roster. He flipped from Florida to Georgia. 2021 class, another guy who I think people either don't realize he flipped from somewhere else or don't remember his recruitment much. This might surprise a lot of people. But Adonai Mitchell was committed to Ole Miss from April of 2020 to July of 2020, and then committed to Georgia, I believe right after. That may have been an immediate flip from Ole Miss to Georgia, or a couple days after that. But massive, right? He may not be the most productive receiver ever at Georgia, but he's certainly one of the more impactful ones. He made some big, big catches, some of the biggest catches in Georgia football history. Caught a touchdown pass in every playoff game that he played in. He went 2-0 in his career at Georgia as far as national championships. 21 as a freshman, won a national title. 22 the next year, won a national title. And then had a very good year at Texas. He's now with the Colts, I believe, right? But massive, massive flip. No one really realized it at the time, but looking back on it, that was huge. 2022, Mykel Williams, right? One of Georgia's best players right now on the roster, was committed to Southern Cal. You know, like, and we talked about that in the past. Some of these rural Georgia kids, they see what it's like out there, the weather. It's completely different in southern Los Angeles or Southern California, Los Angeles, than it is to Georgia. He was all about it, committed, and then said, you know what? This is not the smartest decision. I'm gonna be the best player I can be at Georgia. Flipped, signed with Georgia, and of course he's one of the better returning players, not only on the roster, but across the SEC and possibly college football. And then Dalen Everett. I don't think he has played up to expectations. Maybe he does this year. Maybe he takes a big step forward. But at the time, he was a 5-star cornerback committed to Clemson. Brent Venables leaves the Tigers, goes to take the head coaching job at Oklahoma. Dalen Everett backs out, signs with Georgia. He's a multi-year starter, right? So he has made an impact, and I think his best season is still to come, and it probably will come this year. So that was a key flip. 2023, the big one there, Raelen Wilson committed to Michigan over Georgia. Glenn Schumann said, nah, dude, I'm not moving on. You're signing with me. You don't know it just yet because you just committed to Michigan, but you're signing with us. And I knew that he was a massive, massive deal. He's a big priority. And I always felt, even when he committed to Michigan, I told our readers over at DAWG HOUSE, I said, watch Raelen Wilson here. Georgia's going to keep recruiting him hard like he's uncommitted, like they do with everyone. And I think they've got a good chance to sign him. Of course, I was right. They end up signing him. That was a big, big flip. And I think we're going to see a decent amount of Raelen Wilson this year. Of course, in last year's class, 2024, not a ton of flips, especially considering guys who I think are going to play and make a big impact at least this year. But KJ Bolden, obviously one of them in that 24 class, flipped from Florida State to Georgia right before signing day. Massive deal. He's a guy who's going to see the field a lot this year. I think he's going to be a multi-year starter. Is going to help on special teams, I believe, too. But he's electric. Track speed, length, ball skills, athleticism, knows how to tackle. This is a big-time player. 5-star for a reason. He was a priority for the Dogs. Early on in his recruitment, they did not give up. They kept recruiting him hard after he committed to Florida State and were able to land his commitment. That, I think, will go down as one of Kirby Smart's biggest flips. And then Nazir Johnson, big defensive lineman from Dublin who is on campus now, was committed to Florida. Georgia pushed for a commitment, and they got him. I think he is a sleeper. I say sleeper. His ranking rose more and more in that 24 class over time. But that's a guy that I think Georgia fans don't necessarily know how good he is. That's a guy who I think will start at some point on the defensive line. And looking back on it in a couple years, we're going to look at that being as, wow, that was a massive flip. Again, a lot of it was because he was committed to Florida and flipped to Georgia. Now in the 25 class, they've already got two massive flips on board. Shamari Earls, a big-time cornerback with size and speed. They flipped him from South Carolina. That was massive. I think he could push for 5-star status. And of course, Isaiah Gibson, 5-star edge from the middle of Georgia. Warner Robins committed to Southern Cal. And Georgia said, no, dude, no, that's not going to happen. You're going to sign with us. And of course, they were able to flip him. He's fully on board. He's going to be a big, big deal when he gets to Athens. Maybe they flip another, Justice Terry, just a guy to keep an eye on. Still think Georgia sits in a good spot for him. But Kirby Smart knows how to flip big-time prospects, and he's going to keep doing it. Thanks for watching this video. Get your Bulldog today. Remember, promo code DAWGPOST, DAWGPOST. All the information is in the description below in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the website.